Hey guys, what's up? UselessFodder here. So Operation Harsh Doorstop just launched this week, and a lot of people are trying to get servers up and having a lot of problems. So I thought I'd put together this little quick guide on how to get a server working on Operation Harsh Doorstop. I'm going to show you how to set up both a PvP server, your normal AAS server, as well as a co-op server so you and your friends can play against a bunch of bots. So without further ado, let's get to it. So here we are, we're logged into our AWN.GG server, who also just happens to be our sponsor for today's video. AWN is a premier server hosting company that can support games such as Squad, Insurgency Sandstorm, and Operation Harsh Doorstop with a single click of a button. AWN.GG was set up by KarmaCut and his business partner, and is being used by some of the most popular content creators in the tactical genre. Let's say that you want to set up a server right now. Well, it's just as easy as clicking individual game servers, selecting the server that you want, Operation Harsh Doorstop for us, how many people you want, 32 slots, and where you'd like it, NA Central. And just like that, boom, you can be ordering it and it's set up instantly. You can also run a dedicated box server, meaning the entire server is for you to use and you can log in and do whatever configurations you need to do on the server itself. The tutorial today that we're going to be running will be on an i9-109K box that they set up for me to do these tutorials. This server has been able to run multiple Arma servers, an Insurgency Sandstorm server, a Minecraft server, and multiple Operation Harsh Doorstop servers with ease. I've been a fan of AWN for a long time, so getting to work with them has been a real treat for me, and I would recommend them even if I wasn't getting a server to use today. So if you want to get a server set up today, this is going to be the fastest way you can do it. So go ahead and click the link down below. It's not affiliated. I don't get a pay-per-click or anything like that, but I promise that you will enjoy your AWN server and their world-class customer service. So it's worth noting, though I'm running this on a dedicated box that I get from AWN.GG, you could do this anywhere. You can do this on a extra computer you have laying around. You can do this on your own home computer. You can run these servers on any computer, and I'm going to show you the Windows-based way to do it. There's a Linux-based setup as well that is going to be slightly different configuration than what I'm showing you, but if you look at the files that I've linked down below in the description, they will show you all the different Linux commands versus the Windows one. So just so you know, today we're going to be following along with the OHD server setup instructions, this official document. This document will be linked down below, so you can go ahead and do that. This will cover pretty much everything you need to be able to install the server, but some of the steps are a little finicky, so stick along with the video, but follow along with me on this document as well. Cool, with all that out of the way, let me show you how to install the Operation Harsh Doorstop dedicated server. So you could do it through Steam by downloading a Steam client onto your whatever you're running a server on, but we can also do it by utilizing SteamCMD, which is a much preferred method. So to download SteamCMD, you can just Google steam.cdm, or you can go into the link down below. I have a page with all of these links, as well as everything I'm going to copy and paste in this tutorial in that link. Okay, so when we get to this page, it's going to show you how to download and set up steam.cmd, which is SteamCMD. First off, we're going to go down here, we're going to click this little download button, and we're going to download SteamCMD. I already have it downloaded, so you go ahead and download it and follow the instructions on how to install it. I'm not going to show you how to do that. I'm pretty sure you can figure that out yourself. Okay, cool. So now that you have SteamCMD downloaded, just go ahead and open it up. I have it on a shortcut here. It's going to go ahead and update, and we're going to get to this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to log in anonymously by doing login anonymous. Sorry, I'm not the best. Cool. So now we're logged in anonymously, and once that finishes, go in there, and then we're going to put in a command to change where this is going to save to, because right now it's going to want to save whatever you're downloading into whatever folder you save SteamCMD in. You probably don't want to do that. I will show you where I like to save mine. For me, I just went ahead and created a games folder where I save all of my dedicated servers that I download onto. You can see I already have 2 OHD servers there because I'm running 2 OHD servers right now, but I'm going to change my drive to actually be this install location. To do that, I'm going to take this command here, force_install_dir drive for my C games. And I don't want Arma 3. I want this to be OHD Server 3, which is, where I am going to create that. I don't know if you need to, but I like to always make sure to create the folder first. So OHD Server 3. So I created the folder. I'm going to hit enter. It says, please use it before logon. Don't worry about it. It's going to work either way. Next, we're going to go ahead and install the actual dedicated server utilizing this command. app_update. And then this number, which is the actual app ID on Steam. If you've ever used SteamCMD, you'll recognize that. And then validate. That'll just go and make sure that everything that you downloaded actually downloaded correctly. So go ahead and hit enter, and it will start updating. Okay, so now that it's finished downloading, it's going to actually go ahead and verify like we asked it to do with that validate function. It says now it's fully installed, so we should be able to go over here to OHD Server 3, and everything that we need is now inside here, with the exception of a few files that we're going to have to create. So the OHD dedicated server runs off of a variety of different styles, but we use the .bat file to actually run. I'm going to show you how to set up that .bat file in a second, but first let me go ahead and create a few files that we're going to need. Before we can make those files though, there's going to be a couple of folders that have to be created the first time you run this. Just go ahead and double click that bat. It's going to run once. Once it does that, you just go ahead and close it because it's not currently set up for anything right now. Oh, and in Steam, you just go ahead and type quit and it'll kill your Steam.command. So now that we ran this bat, we should be able to go to Harsh Doorstop, saved, config, Windows Server, because we're running on a Windows server, and here's where we're going to put our files. So the first file we're going to create is going to be called, create a new text document, erase the final thing, we're going to call it Game.ini. Okay, and inside Game.ini, I'm going to put this information, just opening it in Notepad, and then let's go ahead and paste this information in. Once again, down in the link below, you can get all this information to copy and paste. First off, it's going to set up our Archon service system. That's needed to be able to Archon in so you can control the server if you want to with Archon. Make sure you set a password here. Obviously, I'm not going to give you my password. And then down below, it says engine.gamesession. So in our bat file, we're going to actually set all of these parameters, but I like to have them here as well. So for your minimum players, that's going to be the minimum players that your server needs before the round will start. Normally, you want to put this 0 for a PvP server, but you could set it for any number of minimum players. If you're going to use bots and you want the bots to autofill, which is what I have our PvP AAS server on, then I put it on 32. Meaning it's going to actually spawn in enough bots to fill out at least 32 slots. And as players join in, it will replace those bots until you hit 32 players. And then the overall population will go up from there. Hopefully that makes sense. Max players is just like it sounds like, maximum number of players. I have 48 on our server. The servers can run 60 very well. Once you get over 60, 70, 80, some people have pushed 128 servers, you start having issues with things like VoIP, you start having weird glitches that come up with the projectiles, everything like that. Right now, 60 is what we're supposed to be able to run up to, so that's a safe bet right there. If you want to go higher, feel free to do so. Server name is just like it sounds. This is going to be the server name they're going to see within the server list. And then this bot autofill equals true. That's exactly what I was talking about before. That's going to autofill all those bots to fill up to your minimum amount of players. Okay, so now that we're done with Game.ini, just go ahead and hit File, Save, and close that. Next, we're going to make another file for our MapCycle. So we're going to go ahead and go New, Text Document. It's going to be MapCycle.cfg. I'm not sure if the capitalization matters, but I always capitalize the M and the C. That seems to work. Do you want to go ahead and change it? Yes, I do. Go ahead and open it up. If you want to have all the maps that are in the base game now, you're going to copy and paste what I have in here. And this is the order in which it will do. Just like it sounds like, after your initial round is done from the first thing that you launch in our .bat file, it will look into the map cycle to find what the next thing you should play. So we're going to launch straight into Rosala with our .bat file, but after Rosala, it's going to go to Monte Cristiano, and then Rosala, and then Kafki, and then Lamdong, and Argonne, and then cycle through. If you want to know where I got these names from, there's this really useful guide over on OHDservers.net that will give you a ton of information as well. Along with this OHD server setup, these two basically will have every single bit of information that you could possibly need. Once again, these will be linked down below, and these are going to be your Bibles. Things may change. This is an early access game, and some of the server setup stuff I know is still a little bit wonky in that document, but overall, you should be able to get there by following these two documents and this guide. You can put any maps that you have installed in the server here, including modded maps. So this is where you're going to configure your map cycle for your server. If your server's up 24/7, obviously you're not going to want to play the same map all the time. So here's where you set it up. I've been told that you can put in some of the parameters that we're going to run through here in a second into here as well. So define your factions, define your tickets, everything like that. I've been told you can put that in the CFG. I haven't tested it yet. If you do test it and it works out, let me know down in the comments. Okay, so now that our map cycle is done, I'm going to go ahead and hit File, Save, just like before, and close that out. And then the last thing we have to set up is our Admins.cfg. So go ahead, once again, New, Text Document, Admins.cfg, Enter. Do you want to change it? Yes, that's fine. Okay, go ahead and open it up. And then in here, what you're going to do is you're going to put your Steam64 ID for every single person you want to have admin on the server. To find your Steam64 ID, you can search Steam64 in Google. You'll find Steam.io, but I've also linked it down below just to help you out. from here in this input section, you'll put your actual community ID on SteamCMD.com. There's a how-to on how to look that up, but you'll put that there and you'll look it up and it'll give you all of your IDs. These are all public information. I'm not revealing anything special. Apparently you can go to nuts.com to buy some conversation hearts. Very interesting. But then you go ahead and copy your Steam64 from this line right here. And then you go ahead and put it in your admins file save. If you want more admins, you go to the next line and you put more Steam64s. Anyone should be able to get their Steam64, put all your friends in there, whoever you want as admins to be able to run admin commands from inside the game. After that's done, go and make sure you go ahead, hit file save, go ahead and close that out. So we've now set up our main files that we care about in this basic server we're setting up. Remember, we're not doing crazy mods, we're not doing anything else, this is a basic server. So after we've done that, we're gonna go back up to the top level, OHD Server 3, which, by the way, I called it Server 3 because I already have OHD Server 1 and 2. You can call it whatever you want. You don't have to do exactly what I did in this guide. You're smart. Okay, anyway, here we have our harsh doorstop server.bat. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually Control-C, Control-V, copy and paste that. This is going to be my backup, and I'm actually going to call it backup. We can call these whatever we want because these are going to be just what we click to run. It doesn't matter what the name is. So on here, oh, I double clicked that. That's a mistake. Sorry. Bloopers. On here, we're going to right click it. We're going to go rename. I'm going to call this my OHD co-op. I'm going to go ahead and right click and go edit. There might be a pop-up for you if you have not edited a bat file before that gives you some warning. You're fine to edit it. It's not a big deal. The reason why we did a backup here is so that even if we screw something up, we can go ahead and go back on it. If you screw this up monumentally, delete files or whatever, just go back into Steam command and do that app update thing again. It'll be just fine. Okay, so now that we're in the .bat, this is the main configuration and how you run the server. If you've worked with servers before, you might recognize some of this. What I'm going to do is go ahead and take what I built for a co-op file already. I'm going to paste it in here. I'm going to show you exactly what each thing means so that when you copy and paste it from the link down below, you can edit anything you want within there. Okay, so I'm copying and I'm going to go ahead and paste right in here what I have for mine. So this is for my FoddSquad official co-op US is best server, which is the most popular co-op server, by the way, out there. Just so you know. And so I'm going to actually break this down and show what this looks like. By the way, if you don't have it set up to where, if yours looks like this right now, if you don't use a lot of Notepad, it's just really, really long, go format word wrap. Okay, here's what we're going to do. First thing, this start, and it shows you where the .exe is. What that's going to be is that's going to actually run the harsh doorstop exe. You can actually find this if you go into the folder and find this. You can double click that exe, but it won't feed in any of the information they need from the config file, so don't do that. But that has to be there. There's nothing else you can do. So next thing you want to do is send to the server exactly what map, name, and configuration you want it to run when you start it. This has to be first. When we do all the dash commands that come after this, if you try to put them in front, it's going to mess up. It's going to go to test map. You don't want that. So make sure this is first. So you see here that it says Rosala. That's one of the maps, and that's what we're going to load first. When we start the server, it's going to go to Rosala first. And then there's this question mark. That question mark is going to denote a separation between Rosala and our next command in this. After that, there is no space. I have not tested it with a space. I don't even want to know what's going to happen. Remove all spaces. You don't need one. After every single one of your commands, before you put another command, make sure there is a question mark. Otherwise, you have problems. When you copy and paste this, it won't be a big deal. So next it says blue 4 faction equals default. So that default means that whatever the map was designed to have as the default faction, so for Rosala, that will be PMCs and insurgents, that's what it's going to do for blue 4 faction. So you see blue 4's here, and then down here is op4 faction as default. So for us, we're going to load into Rosala, we're going to have PMCs versus insurgents. If we want to, we can change this to the name of another faction. Once again, going back to my very helpful OHDservers.net, it actually shows you what factions there are right here. These are the default factions. So if you want to change it so in every single map, Monte Cassino, Argonne, all those sorts of things, you want to make it PMCs versus insurgents, you totally can. That's totally fine. All you would do is you would take that name and you would go, okay, we're going to play as PMCs. We're going to paste this name in here. Boom. So now that blue 4 will always be the PMC faction. We don't want to do that. For me, I just want to do default. So if you play Monte Cassino, it's World War II factions. If you play, you get the idea. So past this op4 faction, we're going to go to min players equals what? I have it set to 1. I don't want the rounds to just continuously run because it would suck if somebody joins and there's like 2 seconds left. So they join and then it ends the round and they have to load again. That would suck. So minimum player set to 1 means that when one player starts, the server will start. Once again, question mark, Max players equals 48. So I'm running a 48 player server. You'll note on here we have min players 1. That's because we're running a co-op server. I don't want that auto bot fill, because if I do auto bot fill on the co-op server, that's going to cause problems because it's going to try to fill in my team with bots. I don't want that. I want co-op to be just players versus bots. If you want bots on your side, I'll show you how to do that in a second. So here's the bot autofill that I was talking about. We want that equals false. If you don't care and you just want it to be default on any of these commands, go ahead and erase them, but I suggest keeping as many of them in and defining them yourself. Once again, looking at the documents I linked to you, it will tell you all the commands you can run in here. So bot auto equals autofill equals false. That's what we want. We don't want to autofill bots. We want just players on one team. Opt for number of bots. So I have 24 bots on my server. You can set this to whatever you want. I think about 3 bots for every 1 player is the right amount, but you can choose to do whatever. If you want one-on-one and you expect to have maybe 6 players, then you can go ahead and just put 6 bots. If you think 3-on-1's great and you expect to have 6 players, go ahead and put 18, whatever you want. Obviously, if you put too many bots, it's going to be almost impossible. The bots, I wouldn't say are smart, but they can catch you out sometimes, and they tend to have the ability to engage you from long distances that you wouldn't expect. Some maps like Monte Casino are almost impossible if you put too many bots. This will not automatically adjust based upon the number of players there are. This is how many it's going to spawn. There is a mod that allows you to auto adjust them, but as of right now, you can't run that mod unless your players also have the mod. So just some considerations surrounding this. I have 24 bots because I regularly fill up this server. 24 seems to be the right amount to where if you have just a few players, you can kind of push, you can kind of do some stuff, but once you hit about 8 players, then you're able to start making headway, and then once you have 8 players, it tends to steamroll to being a full server. After that, auto-assign human equals 1. So this is important. This auto-assign human basically means if a player joins, do you want to force them to one team? And I do. And that team is 1. That team is going to always be my blue 4 faction. If I set that to 0, it will always spawn me in the op 4 faction. So, for instance, on Rosala, if I put that as 0, I will always spawn as the insurgents. When I put that as 1, I will always spawn as the PMCs. That's just how the blue 4 and op 4 factions work out. So I have it to auto-assign human. In co-op, you need this. If you're running a PvP server, which I will show you in a second, you do not want this because otherwise all the players will end up on one side and it will not be a very fun game. After that is the number of tickets, so blue 4 tickets and op 4 tickets. You can set it to whatever you want. 500 is the default, but I have it actually put here because I just want to make sure that it's set correctly for 500. If you want faster rounds, fewer tickets. If you want really long rounds, you can put way longer tickets. Obviously, if you don't know how the ticketing system works, go look up how tickets work in Battlefield or in Squad or in Project Reality. It's basically the same concept. From there, you'll notice that there's no more question mark at the very end of this op 4 number tickets. That's because that's the end of this whole long command that we copied in there. That's it. That's the end of that command. From here, it's going to be additional commands that we're going to add into our .bat file. Log is pretty simple. It just means that it's going to actually save stuff to the log, and you can go check out the log to see what happened later on. If you don't have this command, I believe it will automatically log, but just in case, I put the command in there. This one's important. Here's the Steam server name. So remember how in the Game.ini file, we set what a server name is? We overwrite it here in the .bat file with the server name. So since I'm setting up another server that's for co-op, I don't want it to be the same name. So I'm just going to go ahead and call this FoddSquad Official Co-op Low Pop is what I'm going to call this one. Sound good? Okay. Next up is the ports. This is important. If you're going to run multiple OHD servers on a single box, then you need to make sure that you utilize different ports for every single one of your OHD servers. Otherwise, every time somebody tries to join, it will be confusing to them as to which server you're going to, and it will not work. This port can technically be set to anything, but OHD expects to run on ports 7777 to 7779. That's the expected ports that you would see. That's up to 3 servers per box. I think you can go past that. My understanding is that you can put any port you want in here, but that's the range I was given when I talked to the guys who designed this game. So that port's going to be important when you set this because you need to make sure that you go do some port forwarding that I'll talk about in a moment. So make sure you remember what that port is and that it's different than any other servers that you're currently running on your dedicated box. I'm going to go ahead and change that to 9 because I already have a 7777 and a 7778. So I'm going to go ahead and 7779. Why am I saying it all? I don't know. After that, we're going to go ahead and do our query port. Query port is how Steam will connect to your server to check for stats and things like that. Once again, make sure this is different for each one of your servers. So for mine, I'm going to go ahead and set it 27007 because I already have it set up. Once again, there's a range from 27005 to 27007, I believe is the expected ones, but you should be able to put anything you want in there. After that, I have this -no Steam. I don't believe that this is going to be necessary after they fix a bug, but there is a Steam connection bug that your server will not be able to connect to Steam if you don't put this in there. By the time you're watching this, that might have gone away, but for right now, we don't need to utilize Steam servers because we're running on a different server protocol, so we're going to go ahead and do no Steam. Keep it in there for now. If I make a video later on, it's changed, I'll let you know. Okay, and then lastly, this multi-home. This is essential. If you do not put this in there, as of right now, your server will not work. So, all caps multi-home, and then the server IP that you are hosting this on. Whether that be your dedicated box, whether it be a box in your house, whatever the IP is that people are going to connect to get to your server. It's worth noting, if you're actually hosting a server in your house, this IP will not be your computer's IP, it will be the external IP to access you. You're going to have to do a lot more work on your router to forward those things to your computer, and this is going to be beyond the scope of this particular video because everyone's routers and home network setups are going to be different. You can find a ton of information on how to set up port forwarding from a router to your home computer. Just make sure you're using your external IP address, the one that people are going to actually put in to get to your router, not to you. Okay, and then next up, those two files that we created, MapCycle.cfg and AdminList.cfg. You notice it's a dash, MapCycle equals. These are going to be in quotations just because that's how it's set up. So that's going to actually define our MapCycle and admin list that we were looking at before. And at the very tail end, this percent and asterisk will denote the end of our config that we're sending to the server. Now what happens is after I save this, which I'm going to go file, save right now. Now that I saved this, when I run this .bat file that I have here, when I double click this OHD co-op.bat, it's going to send all that information to the server, and it's going to then set up the server with what we set up. Anything that's not defined in that initial command list there for the config is going to then look in your Game.ini for any other aspects that you need, or revert to defaults if they're not listed in there. So what I like to do that makes this easier for me, because I don't want to have to go into this folder every time, is you can actually right click this and send to desktop to create a shortcut. And then you can name this wherever you want. So I'm going to call this OHD Co-op 3 or Co-op Low Pop, like the name of the server, right? And then just as a little extra bonus for those of you that made it this far, if you want this to have the cool OHD icon so you'd be able to find it anywhere, go ahead and right click it, go to properties, go down to change icon on the bottom. It's going to say that it has no icon, so you're going to click OK. You're going to find it from a different file. Go ahead and browse. Go ahead and get the actual file location here, put it on the top, go there, and then go to Harsh Doorstop. Go to binaries, Win64, find the Harsh Doorstop server, click that and click open, and it's going to give you the icon. Click OK, and you will now have the icon. Apply it, OK. So now our desktop icon has that cool little icon. Just a little bit of a bonus for you guys who stuck around. Okay, from there, if you've done everything right, you should be able to double click that. It should open up this screen. You might get a couple yellow warnings. As long as it doesn't say that you didn't connect a server, you're fine. Okay, if it gives you a Steam warning that says that Steam couldn't connect a server, then you've got a problem and your server will never appear to people. So I messed with my config a little bit to make sure that you could see what the Steam warnings look like. If you get these warnings where it says, warning, Steam dedicated server API failed to initialize. Warning, Steam failed to initialize Steam. If you see these, it means your server has not actually connected. Even though at the very end, it might look good. Oh, this one doesn't because it says Archon. But even though it might look otherwise good, if you see these Steam warnings, your server did not work correctly. You got to go and check your config, make sure that we entered it correctly. But this looks like it's good. These are warnings that we expect to get. I couldn't tell you exactly why we have them all, but once it says server is hibernating and Archon server listening, now it's good to go. Now it's ready for people to join. I'm going to go pull up OHD and see if we can see this server. Okay, so here we are in OHD. We're going to go ahead and go to multiplayer. We're going to sort by server name, order ascending. I don't know what that little hiccup was. And we'll scroll down to F, because we called it, right? FoddSquad. FoddSquad official co-op low pop. It's currently on Rosala, and it's currently in advanced and secure. That's correct. And if we join it, join the server, you can see our other one, the most popular co-op server. If we join this one, and there we go. You see that we're on PMC forces. When we go ahead and spawn in, it will spawn in bots. You'll see tons of bots on the right side, but it forced us onto this side. So now it's us versus, I think, 24 bots and we would get murdered if we were to try that. But we're gonna go ahead and exit and go back to setting up the rest of our server. Okay, so here we are back on our server, and you can see that we still have this running. If we want to do any changes or anything for our server, it won't actually load any changes we make to this .bat file, right? That's just what we fed it when it's time to start the server. So we're gonna have to go ahead and stop the server. You actually see me joining the server right here. This was me, P2P. This is my Steam64 user ID, and then you can see me leaving. So you can actually watch this if you want to see people joining and leaving, see their names, everything like that. Go ahead and close that out when you're ready. And now I'm going to show you how to do a normal PvP AAS server instead. So once again, go ahead and close this .bat file. If we go ahead and Control-C, Control-V, we just copied that, and now we're going to go ahead and rename this OHD PvP. And once again, the name doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and edit this. So when we edit this, we want to now set it up so that players will play each other. So this right here, the auto-assign human, we're going to delete that. We do not need that. And by deleting it, it will not auto-assign humans to anything. It's going to just automatically allow them to join whatever side they end up on. For here, this bot autofill, I like to run the server with a few bots because low pop servers really suck. You can choose not to do this if you want. I'm going to show you how to set up with no bots first, and then I'm going to show you how to set up so that bots will fill in the first little part like we talked about earlier. If you want to just have a game to where people can hop in and just play against other players, no bot, you're going to set it up just like we have it. Min players equals 1, max players equals whatever the maximum you're going to use. Remember we said 60 is kind of the soft limit, but you can go higher than that if you want. And then this bot autofill, you're going to have false. Make sure that you delete for either of these, this opt4 number of bots equals whatever, because if we don't delete that, then it's going to spawn 24 bots on one side, and that's not going to be very, very fun for the Blue 4 side. By the way, you could do Blue 4 bots. Like I said, go check out that stuff in the link down below for all the commands you can add in here. There's more than I've used here, and I'm not going to be able to go over every single one. So this is going to be how we set up. We're going to load Rosala. We're going to do default opt4 and Blue 4. Minimum players can be 1, meaning the server will start the moment that somebody joins. Max players for me is going to be 48 because I'm running multiple. Autofill bots is going to be false. I don't want any bots to come in. And this number of tickets is going to be 500 on either side. I'm going to change the name to something like FoddSquad Official PvP Hardcore or something. And once again, I need to make sure that these ports are not the same as any other servers I'm going to be running on the same spot. And once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Go ahead and run OHD PvP.bat. Remember, I can't use this because that sent me to this particular co-op.bat. I would have to make another desktop shortcut if I want to, but I'm just going to go ahead and double click this. Once it gets started, hopefully we don't have the Steam errors. Doesn't look like it. Wait for Archon to say it's good to go. Okay, Archon server is listening. Remember, these Steam ones are okay. So there we go. That's good to go now, and I could go join it and show you that it works, but you know it works. I think you can trust me. Now, if I close this, let's say I want it to where it does fill in bots, which is what I like to have happen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go minimum players equals however many bots we want to have as a minimum. So we'll say 32 is how I have my other one set up. Meaning that at all times, once the server starts, once any players are on there, it will spawn in 16 bots per side. By putting this as, instead of false, we're going to set the bot autofill to true, making sure we don't accidentally delete that little question mark, otherwise we'll have problems. So by doing that, it's going to see that we need at least 32 players to start around, and by autofilling, it's going to say, well, if we don't have 32 humans, we'll fill in however many humans we're lacking with bots. So if we have 10 humans, then we'll get 22 bots that'll get loaded in, it'll kind of randomize them. Go ahead and hit File, Save, and then once you start up this .bat, then you'll be able to go that. And you can do as many of these .bats as you want because every single one of these bat files is going to have a different set of setup. If you want it to do where, you know, you start with Rosala, but you want everyone to be a particular faction on Blue 4, but Opt 4 changes, you can do that. If whatever you want to do, you can have as many of these as you want. In fact, in my other servers, I actually have several others that test, you know, I'm trying to set up mods, all that sort of stuff. That's how we can do that. So that's how you set up server in Operation Harsh Doorstop. I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, I really ask that you click the thumbs up button. It really helps me in front of more people. If it was helpful, or if there's maybe something that you didn't understand fully or you'd like more information on, please put it in the comments down below. I'm trying to make these tutorials super helpful. I wanted to make this a fast tutorial. This is about as short as I could get it. So hopefully it was helpful to you. Hopefully it answered a lot of questions. Hopefully if you've been struggling with it, I've been able to help you. I am also planning on putting together a more advanced server tutorial that's going to cover things like how to set up mods, how to run Archon to do admin commands, settings, some of the other more advanced configurations you can do with your server. And when I do that, I'm going to put a link in the top right of this. It's going to be a little thing that's going to pop up. Go ahead and click that if you want to get it. Once some of the issues on running servers have been ironed out and I've really fully feel like I've got a good grasp on that without it crashing, I'm going to go ahead and make that, and I will have put a link to that down below, so make sure that you go check that out. But that's all for me. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for putting up servers for the community. Really appreciate it. Lastly, I just want to give one more thank to AWN.gg, because without them, I couldn't have made this video. It's an awesome server hosting company. Hopefully you guys will go check them out. Maybe you'll click the link down below. It doesn't really help me directly, but you know, the more people they get signed up, the longer we can keep doing the sponsorships, and I really appreciate it. Until then though, guys, I'll see you later. UselessFodder, out of here.